Welcome to episode 14 in our series on Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto's The Path of the Just. And we're still in chapter 11, which is quite a long chapter. It's been split up into various parts. This chapter deals with the specifics or examples of the virtue of cleanliness in everyday life. So in the last episode, we talked about slander and how we have to give the correct advice at all times. In this episode, we're going to deal with oaths, making oaths, and also the various levels of lying, types of liars, and how to avoid them, and to learn what is considered a kind of class 1 lying, class 2 lying, class 3 lying. And so I guess let's begin. So Ramchal begins. With regards to oaths, generally speaking, he who is not a layman is careful not to utter the name of heaven in vain, and particularly when this involves an oath. Yet there are some minor offshoots of laws pertaining to oaths which, although not involving prohibitions of greater stringency, should nonetheless be meticulously observed by one who desires to be cleansed. This is what our sages have said, and he quotes from Shavuos 36 Omid Aleph. Rabbi El-Azhar said, "No, love is an oath, and yes, hen is an oath." Rava said, this is only the case if he said, love, no, no, repeating the words twice, and hen, yes, yes, repeating the words twice. They also said in Baba Metzia 49a, and an accurate liquid measure, v'hin tzedek, means that your love should be accurate and your yes, chen, should be accurate. Now we're going to talk about lying and the really hardcore liars and the ones that are considered less serious liars, but any lying is serious, obviously. And we've talked about in the past Lashon Hara and the various types. We talk about the dust of Lashon Hara. Also in lying, there are these types of milder versions that are obviously still prohibited, but it just goes to show in life how a lot of people there were various levels of types of lying. So Ramchal continues. Lying is also a harmful sickness that is widespread among people. It consists of various levels. There are people who are experts at lying. There are ones who continuously create total fabrications to promote conversation among people or to be considered wise and well-informed. Referring to them, it has been said in Proverbs 12:22, lips that lie are the abomination of the eternal. And it also says in Yeshayahu chapter 59 verse 3, your lips uttered lies, your tongues give voice to injustice. Our sages of blessed memory have already decreed their fate. This is from Sotah 42 Amud Aleph, and I quote, there are 4 classes of people who are not received into the presence of the Shekhinah, and one of them is the class of liars. And there's a second class, which are those who mix lies and the truth. So the Ramchal continues, there are others who resemble them, although they are not exactly like them. There are the people who distort things in their stories and accounts. They are not, however, devoted craftsmen who fabricate stories and events that never occurred. Rather, when they relate something, they intersperse it with lies as it suits them, and they become habituated to this until it is second nature to them. These are the liars whose words can never be believed. As our sages of blessed memory have said in Sanhedrin 89b, this is the fate of a liar. Even when he tells the truth, no one listens to him. They have already internalized this evil to such a degree that their words cannot emerge from their mouths free of distortions. This is what the prophet grieves over when he says in Yirmiyahu chapter 9 verse 4, they have accustomed their tongues to utter lies. They have exhausted themselves with wrongdoing. Now the Ramchal is going to explore the third category of liars, which are sporadic liars or occasional liars. And he continues, there are still others whose malady is milder than that of the former. These are the ones who are not as entrenched in lying, but who are also not concerned about keeping their distance from it. If the opportunity arises, they will lie, though often they will lie in a joking manner or the like without any ill intent. Nonetheless, the wisest of all men has instructed us that all of this is contrary to the will of the Creator, blessed be He, and to the virtue found among His pious. This is what is written in Proverbs 13 verse 5, that the righteous hate false words. So now, the Ramchal is going to give us some advice that you have to distance yourself from falsehood, distance yourself from liars. In other words, don't keep company. And if you know that people are gossip mongers and they blatantly lie about people, rather than just try and kind of quieten yourself when you're in their company, just avoid their company is probably the best advice. So the Ramchal is going to give us advice here. So he continues, it is in reference to this that the following prohibition was issued, and he quotes from Shemot 23 verse 7, you shall distance yourself from any falsehood. And note that it does not say safeguard yourself from falsehood, but rather distance yourself from falsehood, to make us aware of how much we need to distance ourselves and flee to escape this. And it has already been stated in Zephaniah 3 verse 13, the remnant of Israel should do no iniquity, nor speak falsely, nor should there be found in their mouths a deceiving tongue. And now the Ramchal is going to describe the opposite of that and how God represents the stamp of truth. So the Ramchal continues, the sages of blessed memory said in Shabbos 55 Amud Aleph, the stamp of the Holy One, blessed be He, is truth. And therefore, if the Holy One, blessed be He, chose the truth as His stamp, how loathsome must its opposite be to Him? Furthermore, the Holy One, blessed be He, has severely cautioned us about the truth when He stated in Zechariah 8:16, speak the truth one to another. And He has also said in Yeshayahu 16 verse 5, the throne of the Mashiach will be established with benevolence, and He will sit on it through truth. And He said also in Yeshayahu chapter 63 verse 8, indeed they are my nation, my sons who will not lie. From here we learn that the former, being called the eternal nation and His sons, is dependent upon the latter, that they refrain from lying. Furthermore, He said in Zechariah 8 verse 3, and Jerusalem will be called the city of truth, in order to magnify its value. And the sages of blessed memory have also said in Makot 24a, and one who speaks the truth from his heart, that's from Psalms 15 verse 2. This applies, for example, to the incidents involving Rav Safra, etc., which teaches us how great is one's obligation to speak the truth. So who is Rav Safra? Rav Safra, well, he studied under Rav Abba and then went abroad with two colleagues, Rav Kahana and Rav Huna, the son of Rav Chilka. He debated halacha with Abaya and Rava and was probably a disciple of Rava, who would sometimes impose various tasks upon him. So he was very well known for his honesty. He did business as well as study, but just did enough business for him to get by. The story goes that once a buyer offered a certain price for Rav Safra's merchandise. Rav Safra mentally agreed to the price, but was unable to answer immediately as he was reciting the Shema. The seller took this as a rejection and offered a higher bid. However, when Safra was able to answer, he insisted on taking the price first offered. So a good example of honesty there for you from Rav Safra. And the Ramchal continues, they have also forbidden a Torah scholar to alter his words except in 3 cases. And since one of the pillars on which the world stands is the pillar of truth, it's Pukei, verse 1.18, Anyone who tells lies is regarded as if he removed the foundation of the world. Conversely, one who is heedful of the truth is regarded as maintaining the foundation of the world. Our sages of blessed memory in Sanhedrin 97a have told us a place where people were heedful of the truth, and consequently the angel of death was powerless there. However, because a wife of one of the rabbis altered her words, although her intention was for the good, the angel of death began to make trouble for them until they sent her away because of this, and then they were able to return to their tranquility. There is no need to dwell on this at length, since it is dictated by common sense and born out of reason. The diverse aspects of the desecration of the Eternal's name are also numerous and of major significance. A person must defend his master's honour staunchly, and in all his actions he must reflect and deliberate carefully that no desecration of the honour of heaven should emerge from them. Heaven forbids. And now the Ramchal is going to describe the sin of desecrating God's name and how it is relative to one's standing in society. In other words, if you are a prominent scholar, your standards are very different from someone who isn't. In other words, you're an example. So you have to respect the fact that you have a responsibility as you become more pious. You have a responsibility to be an example. You have to practice what you preach. And the Ramchal is going to describe how you can, how this can be an attribute. So the Ramchal continues. We have learnt in Pirkei Avos chapter 4 verse Mishnah 4, regarding the desecration of the Eternal's name, it makes no difference whether it is done intentionally or unintentionally. And the sages of blessed memory have said in Yomar 86.8, what constitutes desecration of his name? Rav said, take me a person of my stature, for example. If I were to buy meat from the butcher without paying him immediately, by buying on credit, that would be an example of a desecration. And Rav Yochanan said, take me, for example, if I were to walk 4 cubits without the Torah and tefillin. So I think that idea of buying meat from a butcher without paying him is trying to take advantage of your position. Perhaps other people would then demand the same from the butcher. And also Rav Yochanan, he must have been extraordinarily pious that if he wasn't walking with his tefillin and the Torah for 4 cubits, it would be considered a desecration. So different standards for different people who are an example to the community. The Ramchal he continues, the point here is that every person, in accordance with his station and with the way he is perceived by the generation, must guide his conduct so as not to do anything inappropriate for someone of his stature. The greater his stature and his wisdom, the more he should increase his vigilance in matters of the divine service and his meticulous devotion to it. If he does not do so, the name of heaven is desecrated through him. Heaven forbid. For the honor of the Torah requires that one who excels in Torah learning must simultaneously excel in integrity and in the refinement of character development. But anyone who excels in Torah study yet is deficient in this area denigrates the study of Torah itself, which it constitutes, heaven forbid, a desecration of the name of the Blessed One who has given us his holy Torah and has commanded us to delve into it so that we may attain our perfection through it. So I think we're going to pause there. And a lot to think about there. So we must understand, if we do choose to perfect our souls and refine our characters, and we want to be an example to people, we have to be cleaner than white throughout, at all times. It's no point doing it part-time. You have to commit yourself. If you want to be an example to people, you have to practice what you preach, and it must be a 24/7 job, and accept that. So in the next episode, we're going to deal with subjects such as cleanliness and observance of Shabbos and Yom Tov, and also inappropriate speech, and how we must not be party to that.